I appreciate everyone joining in today for this session on the Revenue Recognition tab. Looks like we have a few more participants trying to come in here, so I'm gonna allow one more minute, okay? All right, everyone. Thank you again for joining in. Today we'll be discussing the Revenue Recognition tab. Also, I just want everyone to keep in mind that we do prefer to have you guys recommend different subjects that you would like to see for our Cosmo campfires. So if you have any suggestions, please feel free to use the chat and put any questions that you might have during the demo there as well. My name is Lexi Brunt. I'm a Senior Customer Success Rep with Aprika. I've been with the company a little over 3 years, going on my 4th year, and in the Salesforce ecosystem for a little bit over 5 years. Today on the agenda, we'll be discussing how to break down the revenue figures on the revenue recognition page. We'll figure out how to locate the revenue recognition tab. And then we'll also break down how to review those charts on the revenue recognition page. A few things that we'll want to gain from this call today, we'll want to identify how to get to the revenue recognition tab, understanding those charts and the planned, actual, and earned values. And we'll also get into the projected values quite a bit as well. The revenue recognition provides deeper insights into your financials. So it breaks down the realization of revenue for your projects based on a certain duration that you can select. It does provide information on scheduled revenue, cost, and actual revenue, actual cost, and value. You'll also get quite a bit of projected and cumulative values on your revenue recognition page. So an example of this use case is this tool is basically aiming to better understand how your scheduled and actual financials are spread across your project timeline so that you can make informed decisions around when revenue can be recognized to the customer. So for example, we have a company that has been engaged with their customer Rip Curl to build a new website, and they agreed to make a payment schedule of 50% of the cost at the start of the project and 50% once the project is delivered. So even though this company has received payment for the commencement of the project, so let's say that's 15,000, they're only in the first week of the project and they haven't delivered 50% of the work. Therefore, they're not able to fully recognize the full 15,000 that they've incurred from the customer. Okay. So let's go ahead and break down those planned, actual, and earned values. The planned value, or the PV, is a percentage of revenue that you plan to earn during the period that you're evaluating. So if the period is based on the action start date to the end of the selected week, then the formula for this would be the number of working days for the total period that you're evaluating divided by total working days for that action times the scheduled billable value for that action. Okay, so just to further break this down, if you had an action on your project that accounts for $1,200 in revenue, and it has a start date of the 21st of September, an end date of the 30th of September, the total working days for this action is 8. Okay. Now, if you go to the the total working days, yeah, that's right. If you were to select the master date for the September 26th, then the evaluation period is the first week of this action. So only the first 5 days would be evaluated for revenue. And to calculate this, we would take 5 divided by those 8 days and times it by our total revenue to be consumed, and that gives us $750. So in that first week, the project will have a planned value or a cumulative scheduled value of $750. Okay. And I've also included a link on a page that's coming up that will have further information into the breakdown of these figures. All right, now getting into the earned value, this identifies the revenue that has been earned based on the completion percentage of your projects. So the completion percentage would be multiplied by your scheduled billable value, and that's just going to give you your total cost. So for example, I may have an action with a completed value. A user may have completed 40% of the action, which has an hour scheduled billable value of $1,200. So if they've completed 40% of the work, then they have assumed $480 of this particular task. All right, so now let's get into the actual cost. So the actual cost identifies how much of the revenue has already been accounted for in achieving the current completed hours, or the sum of hours completed billable on all of the time logs that are related to the specific action. Okay, and that actual cost breakdown would be based on the amount of hours completed instead of the completion percentage. So for example, if I've logged 4 hours of my total and my total billable hourly rate is $120, then the actual cost would be $480. Okay, so when we're recognizing revenue, we're calculating how much of the revenue is due to be earned at that certain point in the project timeline based on the completion percentage. So if the billing type is fixed price, this is calculated on your completion percentage. Otherwise, this will also use your hours completed billable value. Okay, so that's that completion percentage times the hours scheduled or completed billable value. Okay, so for example, this is similar to the actual cost. If we're working on a fixed price project and the action budget is $1,200, and we have a completion percentage of 75%, then the revenue would be $900. All right, getting into those projected values. So your projected values will compare your previous historic periods to your current, and that is going to, so for the cumulative projected completed value, that's going to be your actual cost. So your sum of the completed value billable for your current and future periods. So this is going to show the revenue that's left to be recognized, and it's going to be split across the remaining periods, or the number of hours remaining calculated from the current project completion status. Okay, so that completed value is going to be similar. It's going to show the historic periods for cumulative completed value cost for current and future periods, and show the cost left to be incurred. This is going to also be split across the remaining hours on the project based on the project completion status. All right, your cumulative projected profit and loss will take the cumulative projected value above and the cumulative projected value cost and subtract those. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the demo. Let's check out where to find the revenue recognition tab. Please feel free to put any questions into the chat. I'll be happy to answer them during the demonstration. Any questions that are unrelated to the revenue recognition tab we'll answer after the demo. So we'll open up for a few moments after the demo and get some questions in, okay? All right, so there's a few places to locate the revenue recognition tab. The first place, if you would like to view the revenue for multiple projects, you'll need to go to the PMO dashboard. And that revenue recognition tab can be found here. I'm going to leave that open, and I'm also going to show you one more place that you'll be able to find the revenue recognition tab. And of course, that will be on your individual projects. All right, so you'll want to establish your project financials. This is going to allow the billable values, the cost values to roll up. So even if you're not invoicing from Mission Control, it's a great idea to still put in that financial data. Okay, so we have our revenue recognition tab here. You see I have a few values on the project already. What I also would like to show you is how to establish those project financials. So once you are creating your project, you'll want to select your billing type. Is it fixed price? Is it time and materials? This will let us know if we should be looking at the scheduled or only the completed values. Your project budget is set on your project level manually. And then you'll want to establish a billing rate and a cost rate. This is going to tell me where to pull those financial values. I can pull that from the role level, the project level, skill level, or you can establish rate cards for your client and it will also pull from there. Once you have your financials established on your project, you'll also want to make sure that your hours are assigned on your actions or that you're using the completion percentage, because this is what's going to roll up and total out our values for revenue recognized. All right, so there's another setting that you'll want to have turn on, and that would be your action progress tracking. That's found in your control pad, and you'll just select a time for this to run on a weekly basis. What this is going to do is save a JSON file of all of the completion percentages from your actions. So it's going to give us that full detail into our project tasks and what's completed, what's open, what's remaining, etc. Okay. So you want to make sure this is set up here. All right, so once that's set up, we can go ahead and get into our revenue recognition. The first thing you'll want to do is establish a period to review. You can also select to view this on a monthly or a weekly basis. So once you select your time frame, go ahead and hit go. Okay, and then we're seeing some of our values already calculating and pulling over from our project levels. So right now we have the header here is where I've selected the date range. Here we have the summary or the analytic charts, and those are going to show the cumulative figures for revenue, as well as your profit and loss schedule. And then you have your details section, and that's going to break everything down. Okay. So our summary, getting back into these charts, is going to show our cumulative scheduled value. So that's that planned value that we were referring to in the PowerPoint. Our actual cost, so what actually happened, and then our earned value, all of those figures which we've previously broke down, okay? And then you'll get your actuals here. And then for our profit and loss chart, we'll get our scheduled profit and loss, completed, earned, and cumulative projected profit and loss as well. And again, you guys, these, the breakdown of the definitions and how these fields are calculated can also be found in the article for the revenue recognition tab. So I'm just going to pull that on the screen quickly so you guys can see. You'll have a full table breakdown of how these values are calculated. So you'll want to be sure to have that on hand if need be. Okay. Now getting into our detail section. The detail will allow you to see multiple projects viewed monthly or weekly, and you're able to collapse and expand You can expand all, collapse all, and view by certain time frames. So in this period, I have two projects that are set to recognize revenue or have revenue recognized. And I have my set project budget, my completion percentage, and then my scheduled values coming in. My scheduled profit and loss looks like I'm going to take a hit here on this project due to costs versus billable pricing. My completed values look like they have not rolled up. So in order to review this, I would most likely check my time logs. It looks like I might have completion set up by updating my actions to complete. But if I do not log time, then I'm not really assuming that revenue from my resources. So that's going to roll up here. All right, we get our earned value from our project, our profit and loss, any backlog or remaining hours that we'll need to accumulate that value there. And then we get our cumulative projected values. So this is going to compare prior projects and timeframes to our current. Because I don't have hours logged here again, we're not fully recognizing the revenue. So I just have my completed values on here. You'll want to make sure your users are logging time, and you'll want to make sure that data is put in a timely manner. So if I recognize my revenue in the first week of January, I want to make sure that my time is logged accurately so that it's not recognized on the second week of January, if that makes sense. Okay. So again, you'll want to make sure your values are being populated on your time logs, as this will come, your cumulative completed values and your actual costs will roll up from the hours completed value billable on your time logs. Okay, so maintaining your data integrity is important to have these values populate accurately. Another thing is you'll want to make sure your project financials are set up correctly on your project so that your revenue is showing as required also. So let's see, let's pull open one of these projects that had time logged. Let's see. Now, if you do not have access to the revenue recognition tab on your project level, you'll want to let your administrator know that it needs to be enabled from your role record. You'll be able to make that tab appear, okay? All right, so when we're on the project, we'll get a monthly breakdown. I'm sorry, you'll get a weekly breakdown for the period. Okay, so we'll have our total project budget, the amount that I've assumed I would, or scheduled to assume or consume in the first week for this project. So that's December 21st. We'll actually start to see our completed values, which I didn't have any completed values. And that is because my time is not logged against my project. So your profit and loss, cumulative profit and loss is not calculating here either. Cumulative completed profit and loss, okay? Your earned value will be the same for your entire project. And you may have a backlog. So you'll see as the project progresses, we're assuming that we'll receive a certain amount of revenue by the end of the project. We'll take a look at one more project. If you have any questions on any of the value breakdowns, we can also discuss that as well. All right, so let's check out one more project. So again, you can select your date range if you would like to view by week or by month. And in this, we have that this project is complete. Again, I have not logged time against this one. So this project has been manually marked complete. And so I don't get my actual cost here. I'm only getting my earned values here on the project. So your earned value uses completion percentage. Your cumulative completed values will use, or your actual cost values will use the hours logged against the project. Okay. And since this project is set to 100% completion, my earned value shows as 100% of the project budget has been recognized. All right, so that really wraps up the breakdown of the revenue recognition tab. Does anyone have any questions or have any other features that you would like to see here? Please feel free to use the chat box. There's also a Q&A box here. It does not have to pertain to the revenue recognition. We're going to go ahead and open up for questions. All right, we have one question coming in here. Can you show a revenue recognition project where the recognition is deliverable based on fixed price, 50, 25, 25? Okay, so you'll need to establish this in your project plan if you would like to recognize that revenue in that kind of time frame. So let me get out of this screen here. 1 second. All right, so we're just going to quickly create a project here. Right now, I'm just getting my project shell created. I'm going to set this to fixed price. We're going to have a budget of 100,000. And my billing rate, I'm going to establish on my project level, as well as my cost rate. This is set up as a billable day rate. How can we make these figures? 8 hours. Okay. All right, so I'm not going to establish any billing. We're not focused on the invoicing right now, solely on getting those financials to roll up. And you'll see I don't have any start or end dates. That's because my actions have not been created yet. So I'm going to go ahead and start creating a milestone. And then once I get my milestone created, I can go ahead and start to add my actions. I like to do so from my project page in the Create Actions page. All right, so we have the action that we would like to consume 50% of the revenue. This can be broken down into a collection of actions or a series of actions over time in the project. I'm just going to keep it simple so that our values can roll out quickly. All right, so 100,000. I gotta do a little math here. 1 second. If our billable day rate is 1,600, that means over the course of 8 hours, which is our standard working day, that's going to be $200 per hour. We need 50,000 of that consumed. So we'll schedule 250 billable hours. I'm scheduling them here since it's a fixed price project, so it's going to be based off of our scheduled values. Alrighty. And then you're going to go ahead and establish the time frame on your project. Alrighty, so we got our actions created. Let's go ahead and assign a resource. And hit save. Let me know if you have any questions so far. Oh. All right, let's see if my financial values have rolled up. If not, I'm going to hit a financial recalculation. Alrighty, let's go by a monthly breakdown. Okay, so here will be the breakdown for our periods of time. We have the first period of the project. Did I set this up wrong? I might have to fix my dates because I have this reversed. But in our first period, we have, you know, I think I did my math wrong. That's 50, 50, 50. I'll have to check my date figures. Let's go back to the weekly breakdown. Okay, y'all, excuse me. I did do my math wrong. I did it based on a budget of 100,000. Oh no, I did do it right. Okay, I'm just talking myself out of it. Okay, so let's go back to the monthly. I did set this up right. I forgot we have two actions under April, which would be the 25 and the 25%. So in this first portion of the project, we're assuming that we're going to collect 50,000 of our project budget of 100,000, which would be 50% of it. Once I start to actually complete progress against the project, then we'll start to get our actual costs. If I was to update the earned value or the completion percentage, you'll get your earned value here. And that'll be the breakdown. So maybe we should go back to the weekly, just so that we can see for the second half of the project, we're going to consume the 25,000 in the second 25,000 for the second action. All right, do you have any questions on this, Nick? If 50% of the revenue is to be recognized at the end of the month, why am I seeing a value throughout the weeks previous? So you'll see the revenue broken up across the days scheduled. I'm not, this first week is appearing because it shares a few days with the first week of March. And that's why you'll see values broken up here, but it's going to be evenly distributed across the working days. So that's why you'll see that. By the end of my month here, there's just days that are shared between that week. And that's why it's showing revenue in between. So towards the end of March, the week of March 21st, I would have assumed or recognized 50% of my revenue here. So it's just based on the time period that those actions are scheduled. Oh, no problem, Nick. Happy to help. Yeah, so it's just based off of those working days, and that's why you'll get a breakdown that way. The revenue recognition method is always based on percent complete. Correct. So your earned value will be based on your completion percentage. Your actual cost, this value here, will be based off of your time logged against the project. So if I was to log time for my resources, I'll start to get values in my actual costs. If I'm not using time logging and I'm only using the completion percentage on my actions, then I'll only have the earned value section, the earned profit and loss, and the calculations here. If you would like to split it that way, you would have to play around with the hours scheduled numbers since it is a fixed price project. Now this is different than the actual invoicing functionality in Mission Control. So if you actually want to progress and use the invoicing, then you'll have further settings on your project level and things like that. So this is just to analyze the data, analyze the dollars coming in and going out. All right. Are there any other questions before we wrap up the session today? All right, I don't have any more questions coming in, you guys. I really appreciate you guys stopping in for this Cosmo Campfire session. Please feel free to reach out to our support. If you do come across any further questions, we will be happy to help. All right, our support requests can come in through support@aprika.com. Also want to note that we recommend that you guys add support@aprika.com as a trusted oh my goodness, I keep clicking on the screen. You'll want to make sure you add support@aprika.com as a trusted email so that our responses don't go to your spam folder. We also have additional resources on the user guide, training videos, our knowledge base is available on the website, as well as the new learning portal. And then I also recommend that if anyone is a part of the Salesforce Trailhead or Chatter group, that you follow us on Chatter. We always post bug fix updates and further information there. And then if you do have your onboarding link for your team members, you would like to increase that user adoption, please feel free to reach out to us. We can get you that onboarding link for your company to add your resources. And that's just going to send out information to your resources on the mission control application. If you have any questions on that, have any questions or concerns, please feel free to email us at support@aprika.com. As always, it's been great to have you guys. Have a wonderful day.